So here's all the mechanical team members I have so far, except for Scrapmetal because I don't have him yet, but it still works with 7. And this is CyberKnight-Miky reviewing all the mechanical team Constructicons from 1 to 8, except for 02. And if you want all these Constructicons, they are rightfully available at Shozy store where you can pick them up right there. Or if you're excited for other Transformers stuff that is maybe is more for your taste, they're also available there as well. And of course, use code MIKY if you're gonna buy something. And of course, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe as well. Sorry if I sound a little bit sick, guys, but this is gonna go away anytime soon. It's gonna take a while until I sound a little bit better, but until now, you're gonna, well, had to keep up with my sick voice for now. But yeah, sorry about sounding like this. Like I sound like a goddamn witch. And of course, these are all oversized knockoffs of the Studio Series Constructicons. And it shows. We got Rampage, we got Longhaul, we got Hightower, we got Mixmaster, we got Scrapper, we got Overload, and we also got Scavenger. But of course, of all of the 7 I have, I gotta say for now that the only problems I have, the nitpicks I have right now, is that there's 2 members that are pretty much the least favorite so far, which are Rampage and Scavenger. Due to it being, well, sadly, one of them is a bit too big, and the other one hasn't even been changed that much. Well, don't get me wrong, I do love Scavenger for him being red and of course being more in scale with the Studio Series, but there hasn't been that much changes with it, and due to the plastic quality, well, it's still top notch, but if you kind of move this guy wrong, you will have the risk of breaking him. And do I have to say something about Rampage? When I picture Rampage, I picture him being this size, not that. But that's all I have to say for now, because about the criticism, because the painting and sculpting of these figures are absolutely outstanding. Especially with how they all literally have superior paint apps to the original copy, which copies they are literally from. Since, yeah, let's just say that while I do know that the plastic quality of them is a little bit better, but it doesn't change that they kind of looks a little bit cheap, and considering how much people don't care about them, they're also being sculpted as hell. And I also wish that they did a little bit more with those guys. Anyway, let's talk about the first component I literally have so far. We're gonna talk about the Rampage first, because while I still think it's a little bit too big, I still think he looks kind of rad. And of course, the first changes that you'll see of him is that the cockpit becomes now the part of the overall long, well, of course, the pogo tail. And it is a long ass pogo stick tail. And of course, since you don't have any stand to literally connect it to, you still get a separate stand that you need to assemble yourself. And you just clip it on his piece here, and now you just have him standing like so, to secure dominance. I mean, what more can I say about these guys other than they just appear in the film, and they really are just underdeveloped characters that just exist there just to die, and be just a bunch of copies, because they're all being made by a guy who is a hack and also not a fan. And honestly, I do agree with Michael Bay with this one, that it was a mistake making that movie. But anyway, all I can say is that just like the original copy, you can literally remove these smokestacks, which, unlike the original, they at least attempt to paint them, and actually looks very nice. And you can also connect them to the arms here, or the hands, which you can literally connect them to each hands. And it will look like that shot when he's trying to negotiate with Sam until Bumpy just go and wreck this guy. So brutal. And of course he doesn't have any elbows, but you can also use that joint to as a secondary elbow. And these ones kind of, well, works on its own. Kind of like a weird General Grievous, except that General Grievous doesn't have a pogo stick. So this guy will lose either way. But it does work as well as a Doom boss, or Doom villain. Either way, all of these Constructicons will get slain by him. But yeah, that's all I have to say about him. But of course, I'm considering the articulation is pretty similar. And the only one that's different is, of course, the pogo stick, which I wish there was more articulation because that's all you had to do with it. Which is a bit, well, a bummer. So let's get to long haul, shall we? Now, of all of the Constructicons we have so far, I will say that long haul overall is the most cohesive Constructicon of them all, since he is the only one that is green, and it actually was made by a fan who actually did art of him back before the movie was coming out, and of course, since they really liked that design, they used it in the film. But they didn't use him that much. But I do love that this big hulky guy actually is more, I wouldn't say the most G1-ish of them all, but I will say that it is a more, he feels like a long haul, bulky and all that sort of stuff, and actually looks like a construction vehicle with all the cable and all that sort of stuff, and it also is quite big, if you actually use him with regular Studio Series figures, but with others, he's being dwarfed by some of his members that shouldn't be that tall. Now, the only changes that he has is the, well, the overall painters, which looks glorious. But, of course, the articulation is a little bit better than the original, since you have more range at the head here, which, since the gap here is a little bit more, has more space, you can literally pivot his head wherever you want him to literally look. And there's also ratchet joint in some arms, which is a bit neat. And of course you also have articulated fingers, which is a nice bonus, so you can literally get him to do that. But it is nice that you have some options that you literally can do with him. And the best one is that you also get gap fillers, which they are literally connected, like literally shaped like so, that you can literally slot inside. And yes, it's parts forming, but then again, this is literally the Bayformer films. Nothing makes sense. And of course, Constructicons. Many users also parts form as excuse for these for combiners, so I don't care. But you can literally also not use them if you don't want to. I mean, it still looks neat either way, but yeah, I still want to use the gap fillers, no matter what. And of course, he has a really nice heft, and of course the plastic quality is top notch. Now, what is a really neat change is, of course, with Hightower, which, of course, of all of them, he's the most strangest of them all, and of course, the most abomination of them all, since he looks like a dinosaur that's gone wrong. But I do have to admit that I am kind of a little bit, have a soft spot with these designs, since they kind of do look like Bionicles that's literally trying to be Transformers, so there's that. And I do love that there's some paint apps of him that actually makes him a little bit more cohesive instead of just looking gray all the time. It is nice that they actually have colors. And of course the articulation of the arms has a ball joint instead of just swivel joints, which is a nice bonus. And of course you also have an extra claw here, instead of you can remove this one to literally plug here. So they actually give you another one that is literally connected to his throat, so you can now make him even more of a dinosaur. But yeah, the reason why there's also a bigger claw here and a long arm here, a long gray piece here, is because you can literally detach it to make him literally have separate arms. Yes, this is the reason why I wanted this figure, is that you have the inclusion of extra arms, which is a nice feature. And of course, because I don't want to forget, you also can slide it in, and now you have an articulated claw here that you can literally rotate and articulate however you want. However, there's one feature that is missing. That is why these overhaul balls here, or as you like to call them, the low-hanging fruits, or the enemy scrotum. Yes, these are what is called overhaul balls, where it helps the crane to literally balance out with the weights. So, it's a literal misconception about the wrecking balls, but people literally call them wrecking balls. I won't blame you, but I wouldn't say you are correct either. But yeah, these are overhaul balls. But you can literally use one of them to literally just, well, literally store it on his hand or arms. And now you actually have more options and more freedom to literally make him a little bit more friendly instead of just his puny arms. And of course, this is based off the concept art where he actually has these arms, which is really nice that the mechanical team or mechanical alliance literally added. But as for the other one, what you can literally do with that one, I mean, you can literally just, I don't know, just hang it up in his tower here for storage, or give it to Overload, which he would not be pleased. But yeah, the articulation is pretty much the same, and of course you have swivel, hinge, all that sort of stuff. So there's that. And now we have one of the most impressive members of them all, which is of course with Mixmaster. And of course, since he is literally a character that doesn't have a personality except for the Dark of the Moon game, he actually looks very stunning. And of course, he is kind of having the really dark shade of blue that he has that doesn't look that blue, but it is that kind of shade he has in the film. And of course, at least makes some attempt for the coloring than Hasbro's gray, which just looks boring. And I do love the paint apps here with the copper and all that sort of stuff, and of course painting the tires that's actually accurate to how he has in the film, which is a neat attempt. But I wish that some of the tires actually was fully painted. Yeah, they kind of missed that one. But what is also a really neat feature is that you also get this barrel, which is supposed to be his cannon, and you can plug it into this barrel, this back piece here, of his hunchback kibble. Yes, this guy has big ass kibble, which is of course supposed to store the head of Devastator. But yeah, what I do love is of course with the head sculpt, which is really nice. But of course, he can have also this attach, which at least it's not screwed in or just pinned in. But yeah, it is something to be notable that they all consider it as knockoffs. They can do that, but of course they are really solid, except for one issue I have with this copy, which kind of delayed all this sort of stuff, is that this piece, which is supposed to have a hinge, broke. And that's due to me kind of handling it wrong, and it kind of snapped. I asked for a replacement, but they kind of sent the wrong piece, so I glued it back together. But then again, it's not that it's supposed to do anything. I mean, it's just hinge out, which is supposed to cover up like so, which I would have liked to just, which I don't really mind if it actually has a hinge or not. It's just a neat feature, but yeah, I don't really care about it. I only care that one arm does it than the other. And honestly, I don't really mind having a replacement part for this one. Unless I do make an attempt to actually ask one, since now it's actually restocked. But I'll let you know in the future. But what is new about this guy other than the paint apps and the hinge on these, the huge mixer piece? Well, you actually has a swivel joint on these pieces here, which you can literally articulate to have an other, well, to literally, well, pose it in many kind of different angles, which is a neat options to literally do it if you feel like it. And of course you also have articulated fingers and literally a swivel joint on his hand, which is really nice that they included that. And what's also really nice is you also have an ankle pivot on this one, which does add to the, well, playability of this figure, since considering Constructicons are, well, very poseable, well, some of them at least, you can literally get some really nice poses out of this guy, and it will look menacing. And yes, you can also do the fan mode, where you literally have the head. It looks like, you know, well, the boogeyman with the red face. Alright, next member. Do I have to say about anything new about this guy other than I already reviewed this guy? Well, long story short, this guy is literally an upscale of that Mech Scrapper, which of course also has this chain on his wrist, which I will show you right now. It's supposed to be a kind of a knockoff of the Studio Series, except they actually added the chain here, so you can disattach it and literally move it around, which is nice. But of course, this is the upscale version of the oversized one, and you also have a pivot and that articulated claws here, and of course the disattached wrecking ball feature, where you literally collapse it and just swing around. But you also do need to have a stand to literally, well, hook it up, because other than that, it just droops down. I mean, it's a neat feature, but I'm just gonna wrap it around and let's just connect to the arm here. And of course, the only difference is that there's different paint apps and all that sort of stuff. And of course, paint apps on the face, which the eyes actually looks more red than ever, instead of just these eyes down here that looks the only thing that is painted. And nothing new about the articulation. So there's that. Oh boy, how am I gonna do with this guy now? Alright, let's talk about the semi-final member before I move on, which this one is the Hot Overload, or as the knockoff company, or what mechanical team call him, Scorpion Warrior. And it kind of fits that theme of this figure, because he kind of looks like a warrior that is a scorpion that is literally a warrior with multiple arms, and of course pinchers. But yeah, I will say that the neat thing about him is that the paint apps really makes him look more menacing, and of course the face actually makes him a little bit more apparent that he has actually another eye inside. And look at, oh god, it just looks menacing. And of course, what is also kind of just to let you all know is that, of course, due to the die-cast metal, which I forgot to add, every member does have die-cast metal. For example, Longhall has it on the chest, just like Scrapper, and of course Hightower. And this guy literally had die-cast metal here and on the feet. So it kind of makes him really, really heavy. And of course, the articulation is pretty much the same as the original, with the addition of open claw pincher motion, and of course the additional smokestacks which you get from the figure. And of course you also get, where the hell did I goddamn put that piece? Oh yeah, you also get this piece, which is supposed to be an optional piece which is literally for a Mixmaster, but you can also attach it to Overload to make him looking like, well, a bug, I think. I don't know what he's supposed to be other than just a freak. That just hates having the overall balls just stored onto him. Yeah, he doesn't like it when Hightower asks him to literally store the overall balls onto him. That really just sounds out of context for me. What the hell am I saying? Okay, before we continue, we talk about the the vehicle modes and all sort of stuff, let's talk about the final member, which is, of course, we already talked about him, which is, of course, Scavenger. And what can I say other than he is just the copy of the Studio Series. Of course, I forgot to put that one up. And you can also literally just make him look like this. I mean, you literally have many options to make him pose and all that sort of stuff. But the only thing that is bumming about him is that he's just an oversized knockoff of him. Nothing has changed other than the paint apps and die-cast metal on the, well, the buckets here. So there's not a lot of variety of changes about him. Other than that, you also have these well, ports where you can literally attach a stand to, which for me, I don't have a stand to literally connect him, as I say, until I figure out. Okay, I forgot to mention that some members actually has the possibility to literally have the highest stand to plug into them. But this guy, yeah, I discovered that it's not possible. His hole is a bit too big. Well, that's a bummer. Anyway, vehicle modes. And here they are in their old modes. Starting off with Rampage, he's literally, well, the red bulldozer that he's known in the film. And I gotta say, the painting and sculpting of this is really, really good. Especially where they actually made some retools of this upscaled figure. And I do love that they add also decals with the caution signs and all that sort of stuff. And that they actually went extra mile to paint some of the details, which is extraordinary. And I do love that. However, my issue is that this wheel doesn't like to be on the ground that much. But hey, it gets its job done. And then we have... And then we have long haul, and of course, you can literally have the, of course, the overall bucket here, either just empty without the kip with these pieces, but you can also store them on the back. There's literally has tabs here, and I do think it's really neat that you can actually store those extra pieces in the alt mode, with considering that those feet is literally coming up where those holes are. Either way, it's same as the original, but with better paint, and of course, it's a really big, well, a big truck. And as for Hightower, I'm gonna say that they actually went more with this one than the others, since this one actually has really nice paint apps, and of course, the caution stripes really just adds that this is a construction vehicle, and considering that the extra piece here that's literally formed where Hightower's head is, it kind of looks a little bit goofy, but hey, c'est la vie. And of course, you can either literally use the claw or literally store the hot overhaul balls on the back, which is really nice storage. And you can also use one of them as literally as a hook. So you can literally pick something up and you can literally just move it around and all that sort of stuff. But I do wish that they also had some kind of wiring on here just to add more for the overall look for this crane. But hey, it gets its job done as it should. Now, as for Mixmaster, I'm gonna say that this Mack truck is spectacular, and they actually went full miles with this one. And I gotta say, this one probably looks the most accurate of them all. Especially with these tires, which he had in the film, believe it or not. And I gotta say, it's extraordinary they actually went there and literally added the tires, which it's mind-boggling that they actually did it. And of course, he can roll really well, like so, but due to the jaw underneath is being, well, rotatable because of the gas tank inside, where there is literally a gun, it kind of limits the rollability. But I will say that if you adjust some of the pieces, you can get him rolling and all that sort of stuff. But it's gonna be tricky. But either way, the payoff is spectacular, and I do love that they actually went with the paint apps with this one. it just looks so damn good. It's unbelievable that this is an upscaled version of the Studio Series version. As for something that could have been a little bit better, which I already stated in my original review, is of course Scrapper, which, believe it or not, I do like this old mode of the well, which is supposed to be the Caterpillar front loader, but due to licensing issue with Hasbro, it has to look a little bit different. And of course, they kind of sacrificed the back detail, which I would have liked that they actually had some upgrade kit to literally make it look, well, a little bit more compact. Because, yeah, it looks like a messy, well, front loader. But I do like that you can actually articulate the shovel, which is really nice. And of course, you gotta be careful so you don't disattach his arm. His hand here, which was the wrecking ball, so yeah. And I do love that the tires here are made of rubber plastic, or just rubber. Sorry. For semi-final, we have Overload, which is of course the same kind of, well, same appearance as the long haul's truck, which this one is literally a articulated dump truck, which kind of sounds funny because the overall bucket here is a little bit longer, and of course the hands are literally, well, visible. But of course you can also store Devastator's alternate piece, which is for Mixmaster, and you can literally make it look, well, store it there, and it looks a bit goofy, but hey, it's an option that you can do. But I do love that they actually went the extra mile to actually add the white details, which I would have liked to have in the original copy, or the original Studio Series one. I don't know why they didn't do it, because that would have been sweet. But yeah, it really looks good. And I also do like that they actually add the smokestacks, which is a extra piece that you get with this figure. And yeah, the paint apps is really good. And same as Scrapper, the tires is made of rubber, so the rolling is really good. Hold on, let me just take this and kind of cover up our dear old boy Scavenger, because Demolisher is literally the white kind of is this mining excavator, which this is the RH40 Q&K Terex, which the Demolisher is literally the Caterpillar 1690. Similar naming, but different kind of branding vehicles. I know, it's a bit weird. But you can literally do that family where you literally cover this one up, and it actually is a kind of a better option to store this extra piece here, because let's just be honest, the excavator mode here is really good, but it leaves a lot to be desired, because Jesus Christ, look at the back detail. Couldn't they figure out this? Of all of the Constructicons, this one, I really hope that they actually went a little bit more to literally make it look like a kind of a convincing looking vehicle, but it's understandable they had to do it, because let's be honest, Hasbro isn't the very best of literally coming up with a convincing looking vehicle. But yeah, I blame Hasbro for making Scavenger looking like this in the first place. But I do love that you actually have ratchet joints and a soft joint here of Scavenger, and you can literally have some place feature with it, but that's literally it. And all I can say is that I do love that they added this O&K detail, which I forgot this mention is O&K, not Q&K. Jesus, I'm dumb. Okay, so what do we learn? Well, we learned that the Rampage here gets a stand, Longhaul gets those pieces, Hightower literally gets the overhaul balls, Mixmaster literally gets that kind of barrel inside, and of course the tires. While Scrapper may not have any significance, at least his arms can literally be disattachable, and of course the one of his feet can literally pivot. Overlord can literally have his class boot ball, and of course he has his smokestacks. And Scavenger get no change. And of course size comparison, since it is quite impressive that they actually look this big. All of them are pretty out of scale with one another, but I think Scavenger and of course Studio Series Scrapmetal looks very nice, sizable, since Jesus Christ, he's big. And here we have them fully combined, and let me say this is a big boy. And to showcase how big he is, here he is next to Figma Doomslayer. And then here he is next to Funded Leader. And yeah, this one is a ginormous Devastator. And yes, he's got the anatomically accurate balls. However, I do not like it being there, since it is pretty stupid. What I'd actually like to do, since we got no scrap metal, but if you actually fold these ones, it actually functions like a actual fingers, since, well, the EC Legend class Hightower actually was just formed as a hand. So I actually like that you can actually have this kind of option, since if the Revenge of the Fallen Legend class Devastator did it, so can this. Well, what you can actually do is just take one of these overhaul balls and actually give it to Devastator as a weapon. And yeah, I can say that this actually works as a weapon for that Devastator. And here's something also funny, you can also put it on this scrapper as well. So you can have two of them as weapons. Or if you actually want to store one of them, you can literally put it in his old mode, since let's just say that Overload is not, well, he's a little bit, let's just say he's pretty much done with literally doing Hightower some favors. But yeah, other than that, this overall piece of die-cast metal and plastic is huge as hell. And if you're wondering, yes, it does cost some weight on this hunk of metal. What I mean is that other than that, there's no head articulation, and the articulation on the shoulders is quite limited and is fragile due to hot scrappers many die-cast metal on that, and the sheer amount of weight on it. It caused the arms to droop, and consider this ratchet joint is tight as hell. It causes this shoulder to well, let's just say that Scavenger is not the best solid group of the rest of the 7. I was supposed to say 8, but I don't have scrap metal. And of course, the articulation of the let's just put this out of the way. The articulation of the legs are very, let's just say, they are stupid tight, really solid. And of course, you have ankle rockers as well, so you can literally spread him if you want to. But yeah, it kind of does a little bit of, and of course, some of the ratchet joints kind of feels a little bit fiddly and kind of feel it. I need to check it out later on how it actually feels. But yeah, other than that, he still looks imposing. Let's just say that. And I forgot that you can also open up his mouth. And of course, the back of this figure is, well, let's just show it off. Here it is, and yeah, pretty deep backpack. Oh yeah, there's also one comparison I forgot to mention. Here he is next to the official, well, technically it's quote-unquote the AOE mech, yeah, smaller size, but yeah, here he is next to the regular sized Studio Series Devastator. Yeah. Anyway, here's a clear vision, and dear sweet lord, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? Yeah, long story short, overall the overall set is really nice and all. It actually works as individual, but as together, you kind of need to wait for the upgrade kit. Well, I need to wait for the upgrade kit for my Final Thoughts, but for now, well, it is possible to have him displayed as combined mode. However, due to the sheer amount of weight, size, and the sheer insanity, it will cause some droopage, and of course it is a bit risky. So yeah, not the overall leg section really solid, but for the arms, do be careful. Let's just say that. But yeah, that's Devastator in a nutshell in general for my overall mechanical team review. And stay tuned when I review more insanity.